Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. It's Big Talk special here on Global Television. We're live in Abuja, the capital of Nigeria. I am Wiyag Mofwegwe. Always a delight to have you join us here on the program. Nigeria has seen several twists and turns politically, socially, economically, and in different other spheres as a national entity. As of today, it's just a matter of days before it is 1 year in office of President Tinubu. But then questions have been asked as to what exactly has happened in the last 1 year, particularly in light of the renewed hope agenda that's been midwifed by the federal government, the present administration under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. Of course, time and again, the president has assured and reassured of how that his government would ensure that Nigeria leaves where it has always been, which is the doldrums, and then be in a place of prosperity. On top of all that, the president has said that the worst days for Nigeria are over and it's time for the country to, if you like, have a sigh of relief. But whether or not the country has heaved that sigh of relief as of today is a part of the narrative that is being driven across platforms in this country. For the next few days up till next weekend, as expected, there will be several events in not just Abuja, but across this country to mark 1 year in office of this APC-led federal government. How much of hope Nigerians have seen remains a very topical conversation across this country. I'm joined by a politician, one who has a handle on fundamentals of this country, who happens to also be a thought leader and a public affairs analyst to help us find sense in many of the highlights in terms of our national evolution in this country. Segun, Showunmi, is a delight to have you on the program today.
Nice to be here.
Great. So I would like us to start from some of the events that we are seeing in the build-up to the 2023 general election, particularly as campaigns got heated up. I mean, you were very vocal for former Vice President.
I was vocal for PDP.
For the PDP, Atiku Abubakar. You had expected that he would win, and you thought that could be a radical change for Nigeria, didn't you?
Well, I think I was more hopeful in 2019 than in 2023 about.
And you had your reasons
for potential victory. Yeah, because when you understand the dynamics of measuring potential outcome in an election, even before the election, people think that it's so haphazard, but it's not. There's a science to the measurement. It is a residual decision-making event. People don't just get to the point of the vote and vote. You can always gauge the mood, do the assessment even before, such that exit polls and all of those things can reasonably predict how the outcomes will be. So I think, except relying on the tribal numbers in each other's section, without paying enough attention to the dynamics of what was going on, even within those tribal enclave, there was no reason to be too optimistic, especially with all our issues. Recall that we were bogged down with an internal crisis within ourselves and 5 of our governors. And then we had the splinter off of Peter Obi, who then ended up with the Labour Party.
Right.
And then there was also the Kwankwaso, who was doing the NNPP. So when you see all of that, you will be excited about the conversation. Unfortunately, that conversation didn't really take place because of, obviously, the now president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did not make himself available for any crossfire arguments, debates and things that could have allowed tough questions to be asked. So whereas I could say I knew the thought patterns of what Atiku Abubakar would have done or would try to do and how he would have tried to do it, I couldn't have said the same about the APC candidate. So long and short, the outcome is the outcome. Again, 2023 would have taught those who are interested in learning that you can't stand on a single narrative that you created and think that the larger audience is consuming it. They went more for the personality of the now president, verifiable and justiciable, and the ones that are not even verifiable nor justiciable. And rather than just take them on issues of governance, the whole thing was just, all over the place. But that's done. I think anyone who hasn't accepted the outcome of an election that has gone through the legal process and gotten validated is just emotionally really childish. People need to understand that, yes, political supporters are political supporters, but supporting a political party does not automatically mean that your mindset must be wishing the country bad. You have to get to a point where you are able to view the issues in the country a bit holistically, almost even wishing that they get it right for the benefit of everybody in the country and pointing them to areas where they haven't done well. So that at the end of the day, this democracy can make sense. If you look at our country, you find out that between 1999 to date, the people who are coming out to participate in the voting process are becoming smaller and smaller. Whereas those who want to contest are increasing in numbers, those who have to vote are not turning out as they should.
Is that a fundamental error for us?
Yeah, it's a consequence of lack of, it's a consequence of failed expectations that have not been met. When people have an expectation that life will be more abundant, life will be more meaningful, they will be able to, recognize their role and the space they should occupy, and all of those things that make people patriotic or feeds into the patriotism of country. Once those things are missing, it's only a matter of time before only rabble-rousers will be participating in the voting process, because fairly more educated people will just be saying, no, it's not worth my sweat. I can't. It's not good. I want to plead with them to step out of that. The only opportunity we have with elections is the right to vote. And the ones that are even educated and enlightened have a bigger duty to show up, because they can then, influence and encourage and educate their kids and kin. But as I'm looking at it, look, the president won with 8 million plus votes. That's too small. For a country that has about 93 million registered voters, that's way, way, way too small. Ordinarily, it does not meet the acceptable minimum standard of, participation of the people. And the one who came second, 6 point something, the next one, 6 point something. So you can see that it's thinning out. That's what I see.
I was just going to ask you something in the middle of all that. Would you say the obedience, as it were, phenomenon has drastically reshaped our democratic process or our perception of elections generally?
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I think people are not situating each of the publics in the right cluster. The cluster of people that play a lot on social media, a great percentage of them are only catching cruise. Why? Because you don't see that impact the votes in other areas.
So it lacks substance.
No, it doesn't lack substance. It's a platform for their ventilation. Oftentimes rude. Oftentimes speaking on issues that they are not even that interested in or that research or knowledgeable on. And it's right. The people have a right to be heard, and they can be heard. Anybody who is too upset about their anger and rudeness is just being emotional. You cannot prevent young people from saying it the way they think they should say it. But what I'm saying is that there's a cluster of people that operate there. We can put a number to it. There are clusters of people that are not that interested in that area of that conversation, but they are boots on ground in villages, rural areas, and all that. There are those who are interested in the conversation at the academic level, who are a little bit more like, people who will get into the deep analysis. And then there are those who are the one you call waiting for their loyalty to be purchased, the ones that really get influenced mostly by the money. So when you put it all together, I think that the Nigerian political space is unnecessarily hyperventilating on that X, which is basically Twitter. And if you check the outcomes of the 2023 election, the general election being one part, all the other termed elections have not reflected any great excitement. So you then have to ask, are they the followers of an individual, and have they reduced everything in the country to the suspect capacity of an individual, some kind of Messiah complex or Messiah syndrome? They're entitled to it, but it is the next election that will cure or affirm that position. Because if we get to the next election and the numbers do not change dramatically in the direction that they hope, I hope they don't get frustrated and resort to other means. But I think that political dialogues must be had in such a way that you must be willing to persuade people. You can't have a good argument and just be rude, combative, excessively angry, and people will not buy. The argument may be nice, but they won't take it.
Because of the approach to it.
Because of the toxicity in the way people feel. Nobody wants to be insulted. Nobody wants their king to be insulted. Nobody wants their fathers to be insulted. Nobody wants young people to be all over the place with old people. Yes, I've always called that generation the dinosaur generation. And I've also said a couple of times that, look, we've had enough of this dinosaur generation. But in trying to take power to the next generation, it cannot be done in a too garrulous, excessively combative, say no to everything, demarket your country, never look at things from the other side, make big, difficult questions, difficult problems too simple, assume that, oh, the man in charge is so bad, and so that once you come there, that's what got us into this mess. If we had been a people who usually say to ourselves that, okay, but why is he not getting it? Is he here to fail? Does he really want to disgrace himself, his family, and all of his lineage? Perhaps we'll begin to look at the underpinnings and the institutional issues and the structural issues and the orientation issues and the attitudinal issues and the lack of consequence issues to be able to say, okay, this is where we are and this is what we need to go to the next level. But other than that, you can be angry all you like. Democracy will still produce the day you have to come and count the votes. And you're not the only one that is angry. People are also going to come onto the space and come and do.
There's not a conversation about the possibility of Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi forming an alliance of some kind going forward. With a big if that were to happen, do you think it's a whole new vista for Nigeria politically?
There are three things you need to think about when you want to talk about what you call a merger. Are they starting a new political party? It has its own consequence. Are they going to deregister the PDP, deregister Labour, and do a copycat of what ACN and CPC
had done in 2014?
I think that won't happen. They may not know yet, but I know that that's not going to happen. Why do I say that? For you to be able to convince governors, senators, representatives, House of a lot of people who are still PDP faithfuls to allow you for your ambition to deregister their party, you must be joking. They won't answer you. At best, you're going to go on another charade of leaving the party, which you're allowed to go and try to work it out.
So how did Tinubu pull it off 10 years ago?
Because Tinubu was not saying he wanted to be the president 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the agreement was done by two people majorly who are the drivers and owners of the platform. Ashad Bola Ahmed, with due respect to him, could easily be said to be the owner of the ACN at that time. And President Muhammad, former President Muhammadu Buhari could be seen to be the owner of CPC at that time. So if at that twine level, the decision was taken that, okay, we're going to push it all together and register a new party, then it's easy. Who is going to tell the 13 governors of the PDP to drop their party, come and enter another alliance when they are already feeling like the leaders of their party? Who's going to tell the senators of the PDP to drop their party? Nobody's going to answer them. So I think if they can be successful, we'll probably have PDP. Of course, nobody is going to destroy APC for them. I don't think so. Because they are the ruling party. They will have the APC. I don't envisage Labour Party getting deregistered for them because they have that close affinity with the Labour movement. So you'll have the Labour Party. So they're just going to come up with another party. And they'll be very lucky if they can get Rabi Musa Kwankwaso of NPP or the Kano fame, if you like, to join them. Because the question that Rabi will have to ask himself is that, why should he, being Lord of the Manor, with a state in the hand, believing that at the rate at his age and the kinds of grassroots following, including the disruptive movement that he has, why should he take himself from a place of strength and come and join them in a place of argument? Because the conversation would then be, who will be the presidential candidate? And because it's clear that everybody wants to be the president at the same time, they may not know it yet, but there's something called the catastrophic hypothesis, mathematical stimulation, yes. You can always do the mathematical stimulation and know that they will end up where you expect them to end up. You know why? Why one can be double sure? Because that was what happened in 2011 when the ACN and CPC tried to do it at that time. At some point in time, that agreement will not hold. And so ACN backed out, produced the candidates of Nuru Ribadu, National Security Advisor, and Modu Bari ran that election on his own, and the result was the same. So it took them failing at that to be able to do that. And PDP is a 25-year-old legacy party. I can guarantee you nobody is ready to deregister the party for them.
Let's talk about PDP.
People can leave, but not deregister the party.
Right. Let's talk about PDP for a minute. Would you say the PDP, quite dispassionately, is playing very effectively the role of an opposition in this country? Because PDP is supposed to be the leading opposition party in Nigeria.
Unless you don't take in the content of the news and the releases and all that they put out, you will say they speak, we speak, the party speaks, they write, they put out releases. The only thing at best that is missing, if you ask me, can be found in 3 locations. The first location is that you will expect the Senate and the Reps Caucus, the legislative members of PDP, to be a little bit more oppositional in the houses.
Right.
But in the bicameral legislature that we run, you don't really see much of, my name is Honorable this from PDP, charging at the ruling party. So that could have been, if they were doing that, the society would have gotten more excited about the rule of operation. The other area where you could have seen a lot more energy is if the governors would brave up like Wike used to when it was, the PDP totem. When Wike was the PDP totem, if he's reading budget, he's putting it there. But you can see that all of the 13 governors, they're happy just to worry about their states, and to their credit, they're doing phenomenally well in terms of development and infrastructure and all of that.
In their respective states.
Every one of them. But that state platform of being, PDP governors, they haven't used it to be a bit combative to APC as would have expected when the likes of the Wike were governors. So that's the second area where you can say, okay. And the third one is probably because they haven't been in charge of the country before and understanding precisely the difficulty of managing this complex nation, the youth bug and all of that, have been reluctant to call people to the streets. And because our rivals, the APC, when they were in opposition, they just threw all caution to the wind. Systematic progressive actions that the country could have taken that would have made us jump over some hurdles, they resisted it by calling people to the street, only to get in touch with the country and do it. So you can see that whereas the PDP is a little bit more patriotic in its approach to opposition, they are in government now. Only God knows what they will do when they finally get booted out, because it doesn't matter what, and no party is going to ever be able to win elections all the time. So I think that people say PDP is not providing the right opposition. I say no. PDP is providing opposition. It's only a different type of opposition that it's providing. And yes, there can be room for improvement, but you cannot tell me that in fact, sometimes I even feel that PDP is even over-criticizing. Sometimes I feel that they're even overwriting. You can't be saying no to everything. You can't be saying no too quickly. They can't tell you they're going to do something tomorrow. They announce it tomorrow. And the next day in the morning, you are saying no. You have not even drilled it down. You have not even processed, especially against a backdrop that the ideological positions that PDP was exclusively that of PDP, which is right of center. The party that is supposed to be left of center has entered it. So not only is PDP standing as, that pro-government, pro-business, pro-private sector company that they were supposed to be by being right of center. The APC that is supposed to be pro-people, which is left of center, have left their ideological underpinning completely. They have dived into the right of center. So somehow you find them saying, or they will do the same thing. They will remove subsidy, they will remove subsidy. But those are right of center policies. Those are the type of policies that ordinarily belong to a party that is a conservative.
Is it the Tinubu element that's responsible for that?
No, I don't think it's the Tinubu element. I think it's just the fact that I want them at the beginning of their party in 2015, yes. I had a conversation with one of their top leaders. I don't have time for mentioning his name now because that era is past, but it was really very well. He became a minister. I had said to them at that time that, look, gentlemen, for us to have sustainable democracy, we must be willing to grow the parties organically. That means don't be in a hurry to just be taking strange bedfellows into a new party. You must look for people that have the ideological, leanings towards you so that your party can retain its fundamental ideal that makes it different, which is left of center. But they couldn't do that. Even when they just took everybody on, and before you know it, look at their government. If you look at the government, the top players in their government are all former PDP people. How are you going to tell me they're going to be left of center when all of their lives they've been right of center?
Talking about former PDP people, Nyesom Wike, immediate past governor of River State, is now minister of the FCT.
Yes.
While still a member of your party.
That's not the first time. That's not the second time. That's not the time. I give you 3 names.
Right,
3 times.
Right. But let's deal with the one that's in front of us.
Okay, right. What do you want to deal with?
So there's that one. I'm talking about this to point out the fact that the PDP seems to have more on its plates in terms of income crisis than the APC. For example, now there's the vehement call, and that call becomes even more vehement by the day for the acting chairman to exit the leadership of the party, and you have division on that front.
You know, there's something called the danger of a single narrative. You know, those who say, let me control the media and I'll control the men, they're talking about something that in psychology and science we call the danger of the single narrative. And that's that you can sometimes assume that the narrative that maybe A is giving is the only narrative that exists on the table. That's not correct. Before we got to Damagun, we had an Iyoshe Ayu chairmanship.
Which is also problematic.
No, it wasn't. On a second. Let me just make the point. That somebody is asking him to leave his position is making a wish that may not be acceded to. The law allowed him to be chairman because he came by a convention. Yes, okay, administrative conveniences, doctrine or whatever, you can do that, but he didn't do that. Then some people in Benue, where he comes from, ran to court to say he's no longer a member of the party. Benue leaders saw that process because you will file. They waited. They did absolutely nothing. They didn't even stamp their feet to say this is not right until he had to obey the orders of the court. Because PDP painstakingly obeyed the court. We're not the APC. So he gets removed. Our constitution, by its drafters, already have an arrangement that the next man from that zone, so that we won't be having all this argument. And that happens to just be Damagun. Okay, Damagun has been chairman of the party. In my opinion, he's managing it to the best of his ability. And sometimes I even think that his calm nature is actually even helping the party in another way. Because, there's a way you get the impression that this side wants to eliminate this side so that this side can be in charge. And Damagun is a little bit not like that. But there was an issue. They did not call the National Executive Council meeting for more than 18 months, which was supposed to take some decisions. It was against the constitution of the party. The arguments were all over the place. I took them to court to say, no, the constitution of the party says we must do. And based on that, I think, with other influences, they've called that neck. That neck is like saying you have gone to the Supreme Court, really. They've gone to the neck of the party. The neck of the party, in their wisdom, have not said anything about the tenure of the Damagun ESCO. The NEC has only given ratification and authentication to Damagun ESCO and also pushed the next date of the NEC to August. Now, my issue and my argument with those who are talking unnecessarily harshly is that that's the position of our law today. If you don't like him, if you like him, that's not important anymore. The NEC that was supposed to make far-reaching pronouncement by our constitution have accepted that Damagun should stay till August. Until you get to the next NEC and then decide whether at the next NEC you are going to do a ratification that maybe they can postpone and say, okay, well, We have a lot of other things we're doing, therefore we're postponing again. They can say, okay, well, we have even looked at everything, we're staying with the status quo. They can say, okay, we want to do a mini convention to replace. They can say that. And they can say, like I've been saying, I've been pushing that we're in opposition and we've lost 3 elections back to back. We don't have the luxury of time. We need a new convention. So we can have a new convention. We can have a fit-for-purpose executive, a fit-for-purpose chairman, a fit-for-purpose secretary, a fit-for-purpose publicity, a fit-for-purpose youth leader, a fit-for-purpose. So we refit it. That would then give us like 18 months or 2 years before we get to the issue of primaries or presidency and all of that and election. And I feel that, in my position, we must cure the issues on the inside. We must repurpose the party before we go to the next election. Otherwise, we can pretend that of the 17 men that are in an NWC, only one chairman is the problem. But I beg to differ, because that was how you guys said Secondus was the problem. That was how you said Alimodu Sharif was the problem. That was how you said the former governor Gumbi was the problem. Bauchi was the problem, the architect. That was how you said Bamangatuko was the problem. You keep saying one man is the problem, as against asking yourself, why should an NWC not be able to meet the expectations of its members?
Has the PDP been hijacked by a few, if you like, deep pockets?
I do not like the use of the word hijack.
But it's come up with politicians.
No. When you say, it's like saying the country has been hijacked by Bola Tinubu, President Bola Tinubu. That's nonsense. Any man can try to influence you. The extent to which you allow yourself to be influenced, you must take responsibility for that. The people that make up our NWC are very highly respected people, former president, former vice president, 2 of them in the party, former governors, former this, former that, and you expect one person to just hijack them. They're just calling the dog a bad name to hang it. They took the decision together and they have their reasons for taking that decision. My position is that whatever the law says must be respected by all of us, no matter how offensive.
We're going to take a break soon, but I want to ask you this one question, still about the PDP. There are 2 off-cycle elections scheduled for this year, September and November. There's Edo State, there's Ondo. But one of the distinguishing factors is that in Edo, you have an incumbent PDP governor. In Ondo is the APC that's in charge. What are your sentiments about the developments leading to these 2 elections?
On the face value, you would really expect that there should be no reason for people to come and say, I'm buying rice at this price the last time, I'm buying it now, I'm buying petrol. You can't be saying that your life is being made a lot harder as a result of the policies and the programs of the party in charge, and then be rewarding them with election victories. Don't make sense. Except, of course, you are saying that the Nigerian citizens have been so browbeaten and broken that they have lost their will to exercise their franchise and their will to vote. If that then be the case, we will have to wait and see what the outcome is. But I feel that as much as it is about the party, democracy is also about the people and the electorate. I don't expect sane people, to be rewarding a political party that they claim, not me claiming for them, that is making their life hard. They pay more for light, they pay more for petrol, they pay more for diesel, they pay more for food, they pay more for housing, they pay more for transport, they pay more for everything. And if you think that the comfort of your life does not matter to you, and therefore you are happy to be cheerleaders or people who are making your life hard, it's still your right to vote. And so if you vote them in, I'll still congratulate them. But if you think that, no, we don't want, this is too hard, we cannot cope, then I expect you to use the great opportunity you have by turning out to vote them away. Simple.
All right, we're taking a quick break, everyone. This conversation is getting a bit more extensive, but we'll talk a little more in a minute. Just stay with us. We appreciate you staying with us. So I'm just going to switch gears for a second.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the APC. I mean, you are on record to have referred to this government as being faced with poverty of ideas, especially when we're talking about distribution of palliatives. Is that still your opinion?
No, in fact, you see, I'm almost like a prophet in the midst of this nation. It's almost like I'm clairvoyant. Sometimes when I make these statements, I make them from, a lot of research and, inspiration and all of that. But I'm always amazed at how, with hindsight, I'm so right. Look at the APC. Look at the presence of Mr. Bola Tinubu, and even ask him himself if he's proud of himself. What is there to be proud of? You have created more local revenue for the government by taxes, removing of subsidy and what have you. So that means that as against sharing maybe 700 billion or 600 billion, you are now sharing about 1.3 trillion.
Almost double.
Double in most cases, sometimes just a little bit under double. And you have all that double money coming to the three tiers: the local government, the states, and the federal. And this is the result. What is after providing security, which they cannot provide, what is the real responsibility of government? Do you think that government was created so that it can make the life of its people excruciatingly hard? So these people are walking about feeling protected by the garrison nature of our security infrastructure in their villas and their palaces and the security things we provide for them. And they are acting in a very unfeeling, unempathetic manner to the plight of the Nigerian people. You know why? Because every day they only make it worse. You started with removing subsidy. Before they could recover from that, you slammed taxes. Before they could recover from that, you floated the currency. Before they could recover from that, you're talking about telling them to now start. You want to convert education into a business. You want to use a business model to run education.
The student loan.
You want to use a business model to run education.
But isn't that what
you want to use a business model to run education when, in the real sense of the word, it was a social good for you and your generation. You got the schools for free. You got scholarship. You send. You can't. You want to use the business model to run health. You want to jump into the pension money of even the old savings of people for retirement. You want to take it so that you can build roads at the most exorbitant rate in the world. You want to take almost every available coins from them, from their bank accounts, via all sorts of multiple, pay for this, pay for that. You want them to pay for electricity at the most exorbitant price that you can afford to make them pay. You want them to buy food at a rate that even when they get to the market, they're barely able to even really afford it. And you think that makes you someone that is governing well. The duty of a governor or a president or any leader is to constantly ask the question, what can I do to make the life of my people easier? Theirs is the reverse. And yes, since we signed up for democracy, I'm sure we will have to live with it, maybe till the next cycle. But I dare say that if the things that threw the Shagari administration out of the presidential palace in Dodan Barracks is nothing. No. Shagari is a saint compared to what's here now. And we thank Nigerians, we thank the military, we thank everybody that we're painstakingly holding on and just finding a way to creatively exist, survive, and all that. Everybody has been impoverished. You have devalued our currency to such a level that even our savings is gone. If a man builds up his savings in his mind, say of 100 million naira, maybe at the rate at which we were changing money the last time, was a significant amount of forex. Maybe he wants to retire abroad. That same amount of money, he hasn't done anything to that money. He's just left it in that same bank. What is the value of that money now? So when leaders don't understand the full import of their policies, they can sometimes come to the people who may not be so, interested in the hard, putting your nose to the grindstone research. I'm telling them what are you doing? There's nothing you're doing that you can't even run government. Do you know the amount of policy somersault they've done in just 1 year? The worst is that they don't even understand the management of the bureaucracy of the federal government. And I don't blame them, no. There's no way they could have known it. You can't know what you've not been experienced at.
Yeah, even with somebody who has run a state like Lagos for 8
How
years.
how would your worldview, being the worldview of Lagos, how would it prepare you for the complexities of the tribal issues, the bureaucracy of the federal government, and how the back end of the admin works? How? When you are governing maybe Sokoto, Lagos, or Kano, or any of the states, and that's all your worldview, anything you say there is almost homogeneous now. Anybody that doesn't like it, maybe even when you're speaking, they can even understand. The language you speak in Lagos, I will make them understand. You can't speak it in Borno. You'll be speaking above their head. So when you are designing economic recovery, at that level, you are designing economic recovery. You're going to ask yourself that, okay, if what you're saying is, I'm going to do ICT, you know what you're really saying? You're actually saying that you're going to spend your time designing economic growth pole that will work only for the South because of the level of penetration, education, and all what have you there. So when that's what you are playing with, when you are playing with comments of, we are doing GDP, what does that really mean? You first of all need to make sure that the low-hanging fruit, which is that the people can even survive and get by. Have you even quantified the cost, the multiply effect of just a farmer who has a well, but he buys petrol or diesel of 1,000 naira before to power his well so that he can irrigate his farm? Have you quantified what the cost of not being able to afford diesel will be? When you put it onto unemployment, you put it onto insecurity, you put it onto lack of money, what do you think you're doing? How are you going to explain to me or to anybody that is thinking that in the space of 1 year that you, President Bola Tinubu, has been in charge of your APC, that suddenly Nigerians are importing more? Where would they even get the money to import more? So if they don't have the money to import more, they don't have the money to do more abroad, why are you having such a hit on your naira towards the dollar? Very simple. Because you have given your monies to subnational governors who will sit at governors, take up everything that is in the hands of local government. They've gotten more quantity of money. They will figure out clever ways to put it in ambulances and put it in the construction vehicle, take it to the people that are selling Forex and buy Forex so that they can keep Forex. So the demand for Forex, which is very, very artificial, is actually propelled by the fact that for more than a year now, you're giving them more money without increasing the responsibilities that they'll spend the money. You don't even have the decency to finish the minimum wage conversation for a whole year. Come on. What is there to say about APC? You want to do boards, just, what do you call them, the boards for schools. Oh, Jesus. They had to even withdraw it.
That was a council for universities.
Yes. That's what I call their boards or council, yes. They put out the list. They had to withdraw it. Does that reflect people who understand or have institutional memory of how we do these things? Have you ever heard once in the 16-year lead of the PDP that we gave out appointments and then we withdrew the next day in wholesome number like that? They have not even been able to appoint ambassadors. They have not finished filling the statutory boards and commission that they must fill. They don't know what they are doing. And you know why that is so? Because instead of them to call people that know, who could be willing to say, why don't you let us try it this way? They are sitting on a high horse of ignoramus ego based on very, very little practical knowledge of how things work.
Are you saying by these assessments that even the policy initiatives of the CBN under the leadership of Dr. Olayemi Kaduso are counterproductive, whether monetary or fiscal?
Okay, I'll just ask you one. If you are borrowing money at up of over 30%, and you expect you want to do manufacturing, right? You want to compete, you want to put money, you want to create goods that people can buy and stop buying imported goods, and they have to borrow the money at over 30%, 37 sometimes, 35 sometimes. What are you going to do with 100,000 naira if you are going to pay back 37,000 in the interest, meaning that you are left with effectively maybe, is that not 57 or 53?
67.
Yeah, 53, 50. Okay, now you take that, you're going to put it into production, and then you're still going to be slammed by very high diesel cost, or even so-called band A costs. Fiscal policy, monetary policies, they must try to solve the problem together.
So you're saying we have not gotten both right?
I'm saying that I get what they want to do, but I think they don't know how to do it. And I think that one of the major problems that the Tinubu government even has is that, you know, when it's like a man that wakes up in the morning and says, okay, I want to have like the tallest story building in Nigeria, and I want it to be like 100 stories. And it doesn't really process the fact that you need some time, it will take time to build. So when you are like in a hurry, day one, we don't have money, we have to remove subsidy, bam, you remove subsidy. Then say, day two, we have to float the naira. We cannot be using our money to be balanced. Bah, you float the naira. Day three, we are not catching a lot of people in the tax net. We have to put them in the tax net. Bah, you slide them. Then number five, no. The disco and the gencos, they are complaining. They don't have money. Bah, you are slamming everything on at the same time. We are a very lucky country. We're very lucky that this is a nation where people have a lot of resilience and people are generally well behaved. People are generally well behaved. Ordinary price of bread cost Arab Spring. You know how much we're buying bread now? So I think that, I believe, that's my personal position, that the duty of government, of a governor or a president, is to constantly tell himself that, no, the poor have not been put on the earth so that they can just suffer and die, and so that they can be amused and be enjoying and be watching the lifestyle of the rich and famous, which are mostly corrupt elements in the society or business or government people. No, you can't do that. You must tell yourself every time that the poor people in the system in your country, or the mass of people in your country, deserve to wake up in the morning and just be happy because they can do the basic things. Look at the state and the federal government. Where did you ever hear them come up with a housing policy that easily gets affordable even to their civil servants? They will tell you that, they're doing mass housing. They're calling private sector people to come and build houses. And all you see them build is luxury houses. They'll build the luxury houses. Those that can afford to buy already have houses. Those that cannot afford to buy will not participate. Then some people will uptake the houses and then start selling it to your city. How much do you want to squeeze them? Everything is painfully and embarrassingly expensive. They're not doing well in terms of the international reputation of the country. Countries of the world don't. We know this country. We've been here for a while, and we know how even ordinary Buhari, when he goes to America, a leader has to carry.
Is a former president ordinary?
Very ordinary. That's what I'm saying. Just how many days ago, I didn't want to go to Awolowo, Babangida. I didn't want to go that far. I just wanted to go to the very immediate past. Look at their cabinet. Look at them. Just bring them now and compare them with the cabinet of Jonathan. Or dare you compare them with the cabinet of Obasanjo? Look at even the office of the vice president. Compare the amount of power, influence, charisma, and courage that we gave Atiku as vice president under Obasanjo compared to the kinds of things that they are allowing their vice president to. You know why? Because they have to do everything alone. They have to be the most clever. They have to be the wisest. They have to be the smartest in the room. And at the end of the day, there is no clear, measurable, impactful process and policies to show for it.
Bayo Naduga, strategist on information to President Bola Tinubu.
Yes.
of course, has granted an exclusive interview to Punch, a newspaper, this past weekend.
What did he say?
One of the things he said is there's a pretty good chance President Tinubu will show the exit door to ministers who have underperformed in light of the KPIs that the president has set for cabinet members. Does that bring any much value?
You know, I had a conversation with a former governor, former minister, super dude in this country when that cabinet was first put together, and I was complaining much. I wasn't even complaining because of their competence. I was complaining because of the lack of balance. I felt that too much of it was coming to one section, and I felt that too little was. And I wanted us to kind of like understand that we have the federal character as a principle created so that we can make everybody feel included. And so when I was talking with that guy, I was saying, why can't they rejig it? He said something that is very instructive, which I'll share with you. You know what he said? He said, it takes about 6 months for a serious-minded minister to even understand his ministry and get the proper brief of what is in the file before he can even start to chart realistic courses, and then before they start to look for the money for the implementation. And he was trying to tell me that it's not always profitable or advisable to change them. And he was saying that because even if you do change them, the new guy is going to still come and still need some time to learn how far they've gone. And settle in. And so you're going to just waste the whole time. So he was suggesting, and I think he's a very clever guy, he was suggesting that the best is let us strengthen them. Strengthen them with other people that can scale up their work. Because what's the point? The logistics of even removing them, they're taking back everything we've given them, new cars, new this, every stuff. Look, a leader has to understand, once you want to lead, you can never assume you are going to lead alone. So from the minute you are planning to lead, you must be thinking of the team that will lead with you. Otherwise, you're going to have what they have now. Extreme inexperience around the president himself. Chief of staff, principal secretary, blah, 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 blah. Which of them really understands the working of the federal government? Can you compare the kind of people they have doing those works to the ones that we used to have before? You will compare them to the likes of the General Gusals of this world, the likes of General Abdullahi of this world, the likes of people that are really thorough admin people, who when the chips are down, they know the phone call of the person and they know where all the files are buried. Do you know how long it will even take them to even sit on the chair and even feel that they can occupy the space? Do you know how long it takes them to be looking over their shadow to think whether they're even getting approval rating? These people have created a mess. There is no way for them to repair it. We will just have to pray and hope that now that the president has said the bad days are over, that's what he's saying, isn't it? We want to see the impact of the good days because Nigerians are bleeding. We are truly hungry. The country is, have you gone into the rural areas? Even in the southwest. I touch every part of this country, and there's no part of this country that is finding these policies of this government easy. There's a businessman that I know who has relocated his business from Lagos to Delta. And then we had a chance. I was saying, why did you take it to Delta? He said, well, first of all, multiple taxation issues and all of that, and land. Okay, I said, okay, so how is it in Delta? He said, the weight of the bills, both electricity and diesel, is even beginning to make him wonder. So you can imagine companies now feeling that, is it even worth it? Why can't I just keep the little investment that I have, eat it, and just be living my life gently and pretend that nothing happens or go abroad? You cannot be devaluing the currency. I think we have gotten to a point where we must write it in the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that going forward, nobody, no president will have the right to devalue our currency except he takes it through the judicial process. And that judicial process must be not his own, a National Economic Advisory Council that will be looking at it from the point of view of what is in the best interest of Nigeria. You know why? Because we cannot have this population and then we'll be the pawn in the space of neoliberal organization and Bretton Woods, World Bank, this, that. No nation become self-reliant because he was just listening to the World Bank. Everybody manipulates the system. And you manipulate the system for the benefit of your own growth. We can't be a nation of educated people, lots of smart heads, and all we do every time is we align some Western people to be telling us what will not work here, and then they will still be the same one calling us a basket case. There's nothing wrong with debt. There's everything wrong with the valuation of your currency.
I'm afraid that that's the much time will allow us to talk about. But I'd like to say a big thank you to you for coming to share these valuable insights with us on the program today. I've been talking with Segun Showunmi. He's a politician and a thoughts leader. We hope to speak with him a few more times going forward, particularly as it has to do with the government of President Bola Tinubu and the fact that this government has just hit 1 year in office. Thank you everyone for watching. We appreciate you for the time you've invested with us on Big Talk today. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. Stay with Global Television.